In today's video, Neville Goddard discusses how exactly the manifestation process functions, as well as how to have faith and believe in God so that it will work. Every scenario you may imagine already exists as a fact in God, but it won't become apparent to you until you are in it. You are the active force of God. Man is the only object in this universe that can convey everything else. Everything needs to be expressed by man. Regardless of how we feel about the man, he merely stands for a state that God, whether consciously or unconsciously, entered and remained in until it was externalized. Everyone is allowed to select the stake that they want to hold. You must visualize yourself leaving it and entering another place if you don't like it. Everything revolves around movement. The very first of Genesis informs us that the water's surface were moved by the Spirit of God. Wherever the sole of your foot shall step upon, I have given you, the Lord declared in the book of Joshua, which is another name for Jesus in the Hebrew language. You can now decide where you wish your feet's sole to step. When Neville Goddard refers to the law of assumption, he indicates that ideas solidify into facts. It's a more accurate way of saying, fake it till you make it, which is a bad comparison in my opinion because the very phrase implies that something is phony. I hope this introduction was able to help you understand things a little bit more. Hardening, in fact, is much better. Before we continue, let's let Neville speak for himself. If you enjoy videos like these, make sure to click the bell icon and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to pay close attention. Enjoy!
With God, all things are possible. I think anyone who believes in God would say yes to that. But then we are told that God is Spirit, and that the Spirit of God dwells in us. I think any man who believes that should make every effort to find out who God really is, who dwells in us. He is Spirit, and the Spirit of God dwells in us. And this God creates all things. By Him all things were made, and without Him was not anything made that was made. But everything in the world, regardless of what it is, for we are told, I form the light, and I create darkness. I make the wheel, and I create the woe. I am the Lord who do all these things. But surely we should make every effort to find out who He is. I firmly believe, from my own experiences, that this God of whom the Bible speaks is our own wonderful human imagination. That God and the human imagination are one. That all natural effects in the world, because they are created by the Spirit of God, are caused by Spirit. So every natural effect has a spiritual cause and not a natural. A natural cause only sees. It is a delusion of our fading, I would say, memory. For here, in this world, I can't quite remember when I imagined that which is now taking place in my world. I do not recall it. I can't remember when I set it in motion. But if this is law, and a law that no man can break, at some time, somewhere, I imagine what I am now encountering. That my present moment is not really receding into the past. It is advancing into the future to confront me. But I forgot it. And I now think it has a natural or physical cause. And it does not have a natural cause. Every natural effect has a spiritual cause. Or the Bible is completely wrong. Or we are told by Him all things were made without exception. and without him was not anything made that was made. And he is spirit, and the Spirit of God dwells in me. Well, if he dwells in me, I have identified him with my imagination. Only on this level I do not remember having imagined it. But along the way, I muster if this is principle. Now, let me share with you some of my experiences. We are in this room tonight, and the room at this moment is more real to us than anything in the world. It has a cubic reality because we are in it. Think of your home. You know your home far better than you know this room. But your home at this moment is not as real as this room. This room now occupies reality to you. And everything else is shadowy as you think of it. Why is this real? Because you have entered it. You are in it. You occupy it. This I know from experience. Sitting in a chair, and suddenly I am seeing what reason tells me I should not see. I am seeing, partly, what seems to be the interior of a home. Or lying on my bed, I see the interior, or it seems to be, of a great hotel, an unoccupied suite, ready for occupancy, but not occupied. It was just as vivid as any painting of a great artist. An artist would give us the impression of a three-dimensional picture. We know that reason tells us it's on a flat surface. It's simply depicting three dimensions, but it is all on a flat surface. But while seated in the chair, or lying on my bed, my consciousness followed vision, and I entered that room. I actually occupied it. I came back to where I was seated on one occasion, to where I was lying on my bed on another, and then I went back, and again it took on a cubic reality. I came back knowing exactly what I am doing. I'm knowing this whole thing makes no sense whatsoever to the rational mind, but I could not deny what I am experiencing. Here I have the evidence. No one to share it with, but I have the evidence. I came back and I went back into the picture. And the moment I entered the picture, it took on cubic reality. And after doing it maybe a dozen or more times, I said to myself, I'm going to explore. This time I'm going to go right into it and remain there and explore, which I did. So I stepped into the picture, and as it closed around me, from my bed it seemed to be 30 by 20. But when I stepped into it, determined this time to keep going, regardless of consequences, it closed around me a third of what it seemed to be as I looked at it from the bed. So 30 by 20 became 10 by 7. I found it to be a dressing room. A dressing room of a huge, wonderful suite ready for occupancy. No one was in it. I'm the only occupant now. I came out by opening up a door. I didn't go through it. By some vapor, I actually opened the door. And to myself, I was solidly real. Just like the man that is talking to you now. My hand could open a door. And the door was solid and it was real, and I went through the door. I entered a corridor. It was a nice wide corridor, dimly lit. At the end of the corridor, intersecting it, was a brilliantly lit corridor. I walked down to the very end, and when I got to the end, here was this luminous, wonderful corridor. I saw two ladies coming down the corridor. I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew how it began. It began by seeing what seemed to me just a vision, like a painting. I knew that I left my bed, my consciousness following vision, and I entered the painting, and the painting took on cubic reality. I knew it, so I called that a dream. Knowing it began as a dream, I said to myself, well, it has still to be a dream. But I am dreaming now awake. I am not dreaming, sleeping. I am fully awake, but it is a dream. And I said to the ladies as they came by, ladies, this is all a dream. They did exactly what any nice lady would do, a stranger standing in the corridor and saying to them, this whole thing is a dream. They thought they were looking at a madman. So they got as far removed from me as they could and got right next to the wall. But the wall was as solidly real as that wall. They couldn't go through it any more than I could. While looking at them, and they're frightened to death, they walked quickly by, and then I saw something hanging like a chandelier. It reminded me of an object that I'd seen about 6 months before in a friend's home. And he said to me, so you can hardly tell that this thing is not suspended. If you look closely, there is an almost invisible thread that connects it to the ceiling. So I looked, and I did see that very little thin thread connecting this to the ceiling. Then I was convinced, well, it is a dream. This is a memory image of what I saw in my friend's home. So again I said to the lady, look, this must be all gossamer. But as I held it, it was solidly real. It was just as solid as this. That surprised me. They kept on moving, and they moved rapidly towards the end. And here I am holding this thing in my hand. I took my hand off, and I said to myself, now you know it began as a dream, Neville. And this still has to be a dream. All ends run through to origin, and the origin of this experience of yours was a dream. So this must be a dream, but it is not a dream. I am just as awake as I am now talking to you, as I was talking to those ladies. When they got to the end, they looked back at this mad person in their eyes. I was mad, and they simply disappeared by stepping down a few steps into what undoubtedly was the great reception room, the foyer, our huge big hotel. Then I say to myself, you know, how are you going to get back? How are you going to get back? There is no road leading back to that place on which you left a body. And you have unfinished business. You have a wife and an uneducated daughter who has the ambition to go to college. And she's now only in high school, and you have left inadequate funds to take care of your obligations to your wife and daughter. You've got to get back. How to get back? I couldn't go through that door that led from that suite of rooms into the corridor and find any exit from there back to where I lived in Beverly Hills. What on earth am I going to do? I knew, reason told me, that if I don't get back, within a very short time, they'll find that body on the bed, and they will have to examine it, and they will declare it a heart attack or something. But they've got to find a physical cause for it. And here I am looking at something entirely different. It will die all right if I don't get back. And I must get back. Then I remembered a similar experience that happened years before, where feeling brought me back. Feeling awoke me in a dream. I found myself on a beach. It wasn't Barbados, it was more like the Pacific Islands. I haven't been there, but I've been born in the tropics, so I know exactly what they must look like. But it was not the West Indies, it was the East Indies. And here I know I am dreaming. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I held a physical object. and force myself to awake if I would awake. Well, I tried it. I held on to a pile driven into the ocean, into the beach, a solid mass of cement. As I held it, I said, I'm not going to let go. I'm going to awake right here. So I held it. And as I held it, I said, come on, awake. You know you're dreaming. And I felt myself come to, as a person comes to when they're waking in the morning. And I woke. And there I am, completely awake, wading in the water and holding on to this object.